We talk a lot on this channel about ways to cut back on taxes and also how to get around a lot of problems with lawsuits and asset protecting your assets. But one of the things that people make a huge amount of mistakes on that I run into a lot is when they get married, not signing prenup agreements. And I'm a real avid believer in prenuptial agreements. I've mentioned this before. We've done videos in the past, but this is one of the topics that a lot of people just don't spend a lot of time on. And when you figure in the U.S., it's around 50% or more of the people that get married on their first marriages in a divorce. That means that if you don't have a prenuptial agreement, that's a 50% chance that you can lose half your assets, okay? If you're on a second or third marriage, that can go up as high as 60%, runs 55 to 60% and higher. I think one of the reasons why is usually second marriages, you don't have stepchildren as much as you do on first marriages. So if both parties or husband and wife are on second marriages, a lot of times one or both parties will have children. And I'll tell you, some of the stepkids can make a big, big difference in a relationship. And you really should be setting up a prenup agreement. One of the topics I'm going to be talking about, several of them actually, is joint ownership. This is a problem. Another one is signing the prenuptial agreement, the timing of signing it. And another one is don't run around your spouse. This is another problem that a lot of people end up running into, that prenup agreements can be overturned in this. Another one is these, what I call lottery prenup agreements. I see some of the wealthiest people come up with these prenuptial agreements that are just incredibly stupid. I'm wondering who in the hell did their prenup agreement. And another one is that I'm going to be talking about is children can affect your prenuptial agreement. And I'm not saying don't have kids, but I'm saying it will have a big effect. When you have children, it can change the prenup agreement. Also, folks, if you want to legally get around your income taxes or how to get a second passport as quick as 45 days, do three things. Hit the subscribe button at the right of your screen right here, and you get new videos automatically as they come out. And number two is I would like to hear from you. If you got a question or comment, put it below. Number three is go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com, and just ask for some help. Okay, let's look at joint ownership. This is the one that I would say people probably mess up with this one more than anything else. And that is, a good lawyer will tell you this. And by the way, too, I'm not a lawyer, but I've been through 2 divorces. No one's probably better at telling you about problems and how to prevent problems in prenup agreements as I am. I'm not real smart in some things, but I was real smart in this. And that, I saw some of my friends go through divorces, and I knew when I got married that I wanted to get a prenup agreement. So it will make a big difference in your outcome. And basically, your divorce is settled with the prenup agreement. So it's almost like a divorce has already occurred when it does occur, because everything's written in that prenup agreement, and this is what you want, and you want to do it ahead of time. All right, now, joint ownership is a big, big mistake a lot of people make. This is where you go in and you put assets in your wife's name, and your name also. It could be real estate, bank accounts, whatever. Folks, you want to keep all bank accounts, everything totally separate. Don't put anything in joint ownership, okay? This is a big problem. And also, not just you. You need to teach your children this too, because when you leave assets to them and they get married, assets that obtained beforehand, in other words, before you're married through inheritance, are supposed to be separate property. But when a lot of people don't do that, they take the assets and buy a house together with the spouse, and now it becomes joint property. It's not protected, okay? So you need to keep those assets totally separate to make sure that prenup agreement will stand up in court, if you go through a divorce. And another problem that people have is signing prenup agreements before the date of the wedding. This is a huge mistake. I've seen so many people do this. And a good lawyer would tell you, do not sign a prenup agreement before the date of the wedding, because the spouse can come back with this, a male or female, and say, hey, I was under duress because the date of the wedding was already set. Here's the date of the wedding here, which was before the date of the prenup agreement. So you want to make sure those dates are correct there. Another problem is don't run around your spouse. If you have a prenup agreement, a judge can overturn that contract because you cheated on the marriage, okay? So you got to make sure that you have your ducks in a row on that, because even if you have a contract, remember, a judge can overturn it in the courts. So you want to make sure that you're being faithful to your spouse, okay? Otherwise, that prenup agreement could run into a foul. Now, another thing too is you should be having a trust. The easiest way to do it is to have like an international business company where the shares are owned by a trust. Because if that prenup agreement falls through and you have assets out of your name, then pretty much they can try to come after your assets that's in your name, but the assets in a trust should be well protected. But you need to do this well ahead of time before you're married. The lottery prenup agreements, they are some of the dumbest agreements. I don't want to even mention some of the names, but you've heard of them. Movie stars, wealthy business owners, that what they do is they give their wife $1 million or their husband $1 million. Usually it's the wife. Usually it's the husband that has all the money. He'll give his wife, we have in the contract, $1 million for every year that she's married to him. That's dumb, stupid dumb, folks. Don't ever put a contract like that, okay? Why didn't she give you $1 million for every year you're married to her? She would look at you like you were a dummy if you try to put that in the contract, okay? Trust me, you don't want to have that in your contract, okay? You want to have it where if you both split up, she gets what was hers, you get what was yours, okay? And I'll tell you something else too. A marriage will last longer not having a lottery type deal, because if she's married to you for 5 years and you got $1 million in there, you're going to pay her for every $1 million that she's married to you. She might think, hey, it ain't worth 5 years after that. She might say, I'm going to call it quits right now and take my $1 million, okay? If she gets nothing out of the deal, she's more likely to stay with you for the rest of her life than the lottery deal. I've always wondered why people have those type of prenup agreements. I understand it. I just can't figure it out. You get what's yours, she gets what's hers, and that's the way it is, okay? And you ought to be keeping your assets separate. I mean, that's the best way to do it. I'm not saying don't have children. This is another issue, though. Children can complicate the prenuptial agreement, okay? The judge can come in and change a lot of things. One thing is child support, which I don't blame him. If you've got $5 million, you ought to be paying the child support, okay? But I'm saying that I'm not saying don't have kids, but I'm saying if you do have children, it will complicate the situation, and a judge can come around and change things in that contract, okay? So these are some things, if you want to make it a clear-cut deal, don't have kids. If you're saying, well, Tom, to me, it's worth having children. I'm not saying don't have kids. I'm just saying if you want to make it clear-cut, then don't have kids. If you're going to have children, it will change. It can change the contract, okay? Depending on what the judge comes out in his findings, okay? So these are some things that you're going to really have to think about. Plus, if you're playing around with your wife and you got children, I'm going to tell you something. You get a judge who looks at that, he could just destroy your contract, okay? So this is some things that you really need to think about. Anyway, folks, if you want to legally get around paying high income taxes, or how to get a second passport as quick as 45 days, do 3 things. Hit the subscribe button at the right of your screen right here, and you get new videos automatically as they come out. Number 2 is I would like to hear from you. If you got a question or comment, put it below. And number 3 is go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com, and just ask for some help. And I look forward to talking to you on the next video. Take care.